So in this video, we are going to be looking at inflation targeting and monetary policy committee and financial markets committee. So we've been studying about inflation and monetary policy for quite some time. Now in May 2016, the government of India amended the RBI Act to give statutory authority to the flexible inflation targeting as it was recommended by the Monetary Policy Committee. So, flexible inflation targeting was recommended by the Monetary Policy Committee, and in May 2016, the effect was being given to this. So, this provides for the inflation target to be set once every 5 years by the government of India in consultation with the RBI. In 2016, the inflation targeting was set at 4% with a tolerance of plus or minus 2%. So what does inflation targeting mean? Inflation targeting means that a target has been set for inflation, and this inflation has to be met by the government in tandem with the RBI. Now, in 2016, the inflation target was set at 4%, and this was done with a tolerance of plus or minus 2%. So, inflation has to be between 2% to 6%, which is plus or minus of 2% of 4%. Now, the central government notified the following as factors that constitute failure to achieve the inflation target. What are these factors? The first one. The average inflation is more than the upper tolerance level of inflation target for any 3 consecutive quarters. That is, if the average inflation for 3 consecutive quarters, that is for continuous 9 months, if the average inflation is above 6% in this case, above the tolerance level, that is 4 plus 2% is the tolerance level. If the average inflation for 9 months, that is 3 quarters, continuously is over 6%, then it is said that inflation targeting has not been achieved. Similarly, if the average inflation is lower than the tolerance levels for any 3 consecutive quarters, then we say that inflation targeting has not been achieved. Okay, so if the average inflation for 9 months is lower than 2% in this case, because it is 4 plus or minus 2%, if it is lower than the tolerance levels for 3 consecutive quarters, we say that inflation targeting has not been achieved. Now, the amended RBI Act came into effect in June of 2016. A 6-member monetary policy committee is to be constituted under the RBI Act. Now, we will look at a very important department under the RBI. This is called the Financial Markets Operations Department. The Financial Markets Operations Department of the RBI operationalizes the monetary policy mainly through day-to-day liquidity management operations. Till today, we have just been talking about monetary policy committee. We have been talking about monetary policy. What is monetary policy? We have been talking about the different tools and instruments that we have that we can use to control the monetary policy. But somebody has to go ahead and operationalize all of this. Who is doing it? That is the Financial Markets Operations Department of the RBI. That is the FMOD. The FMOD operationalizes the monetary policy of the RBI. This it does through its day-to-day operations and liquidity management. So this is a very important topic from the prelims point of view. So who does it? It is the Financial Markets Operations Department. Okay. So next we will look at the Financial Markets Committee. The Financial Markets Committee of the RBI meets daily to review the liquidity conditions so as to ensure close alignment of the operating target, the weighted average call money rate or the WACR with the policy repo rate. What does this mean? Let's look at it. So what does this mean? The Financial Markets Committee of the RBI meets daily. Okay. Why is it meeting daily? To review liquidity conditions. Now, liquidity conditions means what is the amount of money that is flowing within the market. Okay, that is what liquidity conditions means. Now, there are two rates that you have to understand what the Financial Markets Committee does. One is the policy repo rate, right? We already know what the repo rate is. The repo rate is used by the RBI to signal and to change the monetary supply within the market. So one is policy repo rate. The second one is called the weighted average call money rate. The weighted average call money rate is used to maintain the inflation or to manage the inflation in a short term. Now, the Financial Markets Committee comes and meets, and then it looks to align the policy repo rate and weighted average call money rate to something that is very similar. Okay, so that we can target short term inflation rate also. Okay, next, the Monetary Policy Committee has 6 members. The quorum to conduct a meeting is 4 members. Every member has 1 vote. So there are a total of 6 votes. But the governor has a casting vote in case of a tie in the number of votes. Because there are 6 people, right? So 3 each. If let's say 3 people vote for yes and 3 people vote for no, then it's a hung assembly or it's a hung meeting. So in that case, what happens? The governor has a casting vote in case of a tie in the number of votes. If there are a total of 3 plus 3 votes, then the governor can vote again or a casting vote so that there is a decision that is made. So the Monetary Policy Committee has 6 members. The quorum to conduct is 4 members. Each member has 1 vote. In case there is a hung meeting, then the governor has a casting vote where he can vote again. Now, repo rate is one of the most common instruments that monetary policy framers use to control inflation. Repo rate changes transmit through the money market to the entire financial system. Repo rate influences aggregate demand, a key determinant of inflation and growth. Now, aggregate demand is a key determinant of inflation and growth. Now, how is aggregate demand influenced by repo rate? This is a question that you have to answer. Just think a little bit, then you will understand. I can also give you a slight hint. Now, if repo rate increases, then it becomes difficult to borrow. If it becomes difficult to borrow, there is lower money supply in the market. If there is lower money supply in the market, what happens to demand? Just answer this question. Okay. This concludes the video. Thank you.